in the lab. Don't at me. Y'all gotta let me know. Is the audio good on the phone? I got it on speakerphone. What up, Vic? I'm gonna open up the line for you right now. I'm waiting on Chuck. Let me see my brother. He's in Ghana. Shout out to the African connection. You know, United Kingdoms. Bless up,
Peace,
brother.
peace.
Bless up.
Listen,
Wagwan.
we living strong. We in Ghana. We in Ghana, God. We in Ghana.
Talk to me about life in Ghana right now.
Ghana is incredible, brother. My children are thriving. Homeschooling is going good. We acquiring land and doing the food sovereignty work. You know what it is already.
Who was the last person that you saw before you went to Africa?
You were the last person me and my family, my wife and my 4 children went to go check before we left Toronto, went to New York. You brought us to a beautiful vegan restaurant, blessed the family with a lot of gear. We still rocking it to this day.
I
And then
took, I
bam, we're
took,
on.
yeah, Chakabars. I'm about to pull you on, Chaka. I took Chaka to the same restaurant,
Word,
Llaila
word.
O. Tell him what
Yeah.
month that was that before you went to Africa, King.
That was September of last year. Yeah, yeah. So that
That
was
was
September.
that's right before I became Global Red Pill. That's before
Uh,
I made my pilgrimage to the UK. Now,
Indeed.
I don't know. Well, you know, because you was watching. There's a lot of new people who, they just got put on or whatever. I don't know, whatever. But the United Kingdom trip changed my life. We
Indeed.
we united the kingdoms. 19 Keys was out there putting in work. Like that was a magical, mystical pilgrimage. You know how they go and do the Hajj?
I know what you're saying.
Facts. Well, based off of the fact that my name is Moreland, going
Hmm.
to the United Kingdoms and sitting in Parliament that's my pilgrimage because the UK is more land.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Yeah, King. So I will be out there in Ghana very soon. You
Yeah, when
already
the
know
borders open up, we gotta
what
get you here, fam.
it was September. I was supposed to come out there and do something, right? I was supposed to be in the school.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the second strong of September. We were having
Well,
the SETC summit. Even Brother Stickman, we onboarded. But COVID changed the plans drastically. But you know what time it is. You know what I mean? Word is bond. And
yeah,
deed is proof. Yeah.
you already, man. I love to see you. I'll see you soon in the flesh, but it's beautiful to see you thriving. Shout out to T Dot. The God is from
Indeed.
Toronto, in case y'all don't know.
Indeed, indeed, family. Now I give thanks. Keep doing the work. Continue, brother. I'm proud of you. Proud of the pills, KT, the arts degree, and obviously Mama Pill. And definitely Chakabars is a heavyweight. My brother Kofi brought him to Toronto about 2 years ago. I actually contributed to that. So yeah, it's beautiful to see the family linking up. Enjoy the evening, God. It's late out here. It's 4:22. I was just finishing up my work. It's late. And I said,
It's
let me
late
hop.
out here. It's late out here too, King. It's midnight. But salute to you.
All right. Peace
All
and
right.
power, God. Yes, sir.
Peace and power. Tell the family I said bliss up.
Indeed.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Chaka. Hit the thing. The request. That's my brother he from the T dot, right? He from the T dot, and now he's in Ghana, but he comes to New York to check out the IDEM. So is that unity? Are we tripping about where each other is from? Is that unity? That's what the power is being able to have a global relationship before they tell you that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to do it when they say don't do it. You know what I'm talking about? Because people will have you in a mind state that you're not supposed to be global. Yet when you go live, you global. You can't stop that. The whole globe is watching. It says you can't request. Oh, I gotta bring you on. No problem, my brother. I bring you on, my brother. You come through now, okay? I bring you on, brother. There you go. The brother Chakabars.
Yes, I.
Yes,
Wagwan.
I was just saying, and I'm sure that you heard that was just that's the universe. I didn't set that call up, but that was a perfect example of a global connection and how that global connection, the connection is the currency. The connection is the money. That connection is the business. That's your credit line. It's not what Dun and Bradstreet can give you. It's not what corporate America can give you. It's not what the same insurance company who made their policies off of selling your ancestors. It's not what they can give you. It's not what Bank of America or JP Morgan Chase can give you. No, real credit and real business credit and real credit lines is the relationships that human beings have with one another, especially melanated people. You dig? That's the key. It's the relationship. It's how do you treat each other's family? How do you value the next man for what they do? If they got something like they cook, do you sit down and eat from them? Do you show them that you appreciate their cooking? You feel me? Oh, I got you, man. Don't worry about it. You know, Mark Zuckerberg be playing these games, Chaka. We're gonna bump into him at a convention one day. He can't run from us. We run in the same circles. You know, we teaching the people that's teaching him. Little does, that's how this thing is working out these days.
I mean, your network is your net worth, And when they stopped us from traveling, and when they stopped us from reading, and they outlawed the drum, they cut off our spirituality, they cut off our knowledge, and they cut off our communication. Because, like Dr. Afrika said, it wasn't that Africa is important because of its resources, is that Africa is important because of its relationships. If you
Exactly.
can't get 1,000 people to mine the gold, to mine the iron, to build the temples, etc., then it doesn't matter if you are able to work together with your brothers and sisters to be able to, through division of labor, manipulate those resources into something of value or something of shared value. So it doesn't matter that, Africa has resources. It matters that the European Union, NATO, the IMF, and the World Bank are all conspiring against Black people in Africa, creating trade policies and agreements that align with the principles of white racism and white nationalism, so that they can, between their predatory relationships, they can continue to steal and eviscerate Africa of her natural resources, while stopping the diaspora from going back and manipulating those resources for our own ends. It was in 2017, the USA denied 63% of Ghanaian applicants for visas to the
That's right.
USA. That's the highest percent of any country that they denied applicants to. So why is it they're trying to stop Africans getting to the West? And why is it they're trying to stop Africans in the West getting back home? Why? Well, we know why, because they know that if we start to do business with each other, and that's why in November, when I was part of a delegation taking the Prime Minister of Barbados back home to Ghana for our first time, she created a bilateral trade agreement of a CARICOM community of the Caribbean office in Kenya, because as soon as we cut out Europe, as soon as we cut out North America, and we just start doing business, trade between the Caribbean, straight backwards and forwards, right? Exactly. And the
So
USA, and that's why sorry, carry on.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say the USA, that's why Malcolm was so important. He was trying to establish she established the Organization of Afro-American Unity that was supposed to work in conjunction with the Organization of African Unity, the OAU, which became the AU, which is basically just a whore for the UN and the USA. But it's the Africans on the continent working with Africans in the Americas. That's all we need. We don't need any help from anybody else.
So when in October, right? I believe the date was October the 8th. There was a delegation of us. We were led by Queen Diambi of the Congo, right? Her Majesty, Queen Diambi of the Congo, led us into Parliament. The master teacher Mfudishi was the elder who he represented the Kemetic Nile Valley family. 19 Keys was there. He represented, of course, the shifters, blue pill, red pill, and there were many others, right? It was about 10 or 12 of us. In that meeting in Parliament, which was historic, they never allowed a delegation to sit in Parliament to have their own meeting. There were no Europeans amongst us. This was us uniting the kingdoms. And do you know the message that was given to us by the Africans who were sitting in that meeting? It was to open import and export trade routes. Now, when the European, like you said, the aspect of what they called slavery is not that. It's the fact that they disrupted the trade routes. They took over the African trade routes. They disrupted the Silk Road. That's what you see. The fact that the European, when they created the papal bull that you could find in the Doctrine of Discovery with the Pope, I believe it was Pope Innocent, he split the world into two spheres. He gave the Spanish powers control of one sphere, which became the Americas by way of Christopher Columbus. Then he gave the Portuguese the other sphere. Now, when you hear things like Gold Coast, Pepper Coast, Ivory Coast, all of the coasts, those were the coasts that the Portuguese and the Europeans were able to sail down, and they were establishing what is known as trade routes, whilst in the pursuit of the trade of the spices of India. They were looking for Peter John, the King Peter John, and they were looking for India. Henceforth, why they calling people on these shores Indians, when there's nothing Indian about us. So it was always about the trade routes. And when you deal with slavery, it's basically bartering. They were bartering human bodies for merch. Them Africans was like, yo, send those fucking beads over here. Send us some feathers and shit. And we got these prisoners of war, this tribe of rambunctious niggas that we don't like because we want their women. So we ran down on them, and we drilled them. We bodied their leader, and now we got 5,000 of them chained up, and we ready to barter them for that rum that you guys have, that liquor that you guys have. Those they love glass beads and shit like that. So we got sold out for some merch, for some cheap ass merchandise, and it persists to this day, because a nigga will sell you out for a Louis belt. He'll sell you out for fucking for a cubic zirconia. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, it's still going on.
There was just to add, there's a really good book you can read on that if you haven't already read it, called A History of Indigenous Slavery. When I went to Ghana and I went to the Cape Coast, I went to Elmina Castle, which is one of the first places that Africans were trafficked by the Dutch. This book called Aris LaTham details all of the facets of the slave trade in Ghana. It speaks about the different types of slavery, so military, conscription slavery, concubines, pawning, indentured servitude, etc., etc. Like 5 different labor slaves. So the people that you go send to go and mine gold when you're not paying, or you pay very little.
Yeah, it's different levels to that shit.
Yeah. So it wasn't like in Africa there was chattel slavery like they had in Europe. They didn't have chattel slavery. It was only when they got to the castles they had shackles put on them. So just to kind of add to your point, there was Africans selling other Africans out, and people have always enslaved other people. Like when you take over somebody's kingdom, you take over somebody's ethnic group or their territory, you body their territory, you are going to take some of those people as prisoners of war, of course, and then they would trade them amongst each other, or they would bring them into their families. But at the same time, now we're having this rhetoric where Europeans are now coming into our family conversations and they're saying, well, you know, Africans sold other Africans first, to try and alleviate the white guilt that they have by the idea that slavery is okay. And I believe that white people saying Africans sold other Africans first is like the great grandfather of black on black crime, because there were more slave rebellions and there were more African rebellions and uprisings on the west coast and the central coast of Africa than there were in the whole of the Caribbean and North America put together. So there wasn't just all Africans who were just like, yeah, come on, white people, because I have read excerpts from Europeans' journals where they're saying that they went to different tribes or ethnic groups and they said, look, we're going to enslave some of your people. And they fought to the point where they had to behead the king so that these people would kind of fall in line. Always that when you make somebody, when you kill the king, a lot of the time the people fall in line. Like, you know, the old story of when you have a battle.
That's right.
You kill the king. The battle is done. The battle is won. It's like you killed their king.
Let me add on.
That's what they would.
Let me just add on to what you're saying, because you're totally correct. And that translated all the way into the Americas with the chiefdoms. So the whole thing with the chiefdoms is the same thing with Montezuma. When you go study the story about Montezuma and all of the Aztecs and whatnot, once they sacked the king, it was a wrap. So when they were able to sack one of the sachems or one of the chiefs inside of these quote unquote sacred cities and slay them on top of a mound, oh my goodness, it was over. Like the whole, everything was attached to the god figure of the quote unquote Sun King. These figures were said to be the living embodiment of God. And the conquistadors was up there beheading them, and they were putting them on stakes. So they were desecrating them right on top of mounds. That's why those mounds have a lot of bloodshed. And then what did they do? They put churches on top of the mounds. They put energy centers on top of the mounds. They put water, and they put landfills.
They were sacrificing women. They were raping kids up there.
Right.
They was doing all of their crazy shit.
Yep.
I think though now with the people that we have in here, we should just call it for what it is. They weren't mounds, they were pyramids.
Yes, earthen pyramids.
Right. They were the people of the Americans, the people of the Americas, not the Africans of the Americas, but the indigenous people of the Americas. They had their own civilized system, had their own writing system, they had their own spirituality system. Look at the Mayans and the Aztecs, they had their own calendars. They had this massive civilization, and you can't walk through the jungles in South America for a long time without finding pyramids. You know, they have them down there.
All up
That's
in there.
what they were doing. Right. Then they say, oh, you know, we civilize these people, there is nothing to the same level of architecture in ancient Europe that there is across the Americas. These mounds were pyramids, that some of the biggest pyramids in the world. And that's where they were building their civilizations in and around. So they understood the movements of the stars. They understood astrology. They understood all of that stuff. And then we get told that they were savages. It was interesting when I started to research the Buffalo Soldiers, and I realized that actually there were lots of indigenous people that were starved to death when the Europeans came and they killed all of their bison, 300 million bison.
The food source.
Right. And these, right, exactly. They killed off the food source. And this then gave this idea that there weren't many people there weren't many animals there. But if you look into the history, you can see like white men stood on top of piles of tens of thousands of skulls of bison, and they were going after them.
Ironically, it looks like a mound that they're standing on. They're standing on a mound of skulls.
Right.
You know?
Mound of death.
Mound of death.
Sacrifice. And
so
this kind of goes into, I was going to say, this kind of goes into the Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Juneteenth. Like, they always try to create these sacrificial constructs so that they can bring into evil, dark powers. And that's why, you know, when people are saying to me, oh, you know, Trump, he's not that bad, he's still doing stuff that's fuck shit. Like, why are you doing it in Tulsa, Oklahoma? And why are you doing it on Juneteenth? And I don't care whether or not you're taking down the pedophiles, you're taking down the deep state and all the stuff that I've been told that he's doing, because ain't no white man might say, I don't fuck what he's doing. He's doing what he should be doing if there's pedophiles. He's doing what he should be doing if there is a deep state.
How does he get kudos for
right.
that? The people who get ones who get kudos is the ones who body them when they get locked up. Those are the champions. It's not we don't give the attorney general, we don't give the president, we don't give the goddamn lawyers, we don't give nobody any type of what the fuck. Where did we start doing that? We don't give none of them credit. You know who gets credit? The nigga behind the wall who puts in that twerk, and we gotta send him a cash app. That's who gets credit. What are you talking about? And niggas forgot that part of the bargain deal is that you gotta put in some work, and nobody has done anything. And they think that we stupid. There's nobody doing no kind of action whatsoever beyond what they supposed to be doing. So this is how how sorcerers work. This is how and this is how I could show you how our people have been utterly defeated. We need to sit down and have a fucking we need a reboot, bro. Because if Donald Trump had the unmitigated gall or the audacity to openly admit by saying, I'm going to Tulsa, Oklahoma to do a rally, he's opening up a conversation that if black people were not marching, right, to be, you know, intersectional, if they were marching to expose, if they were marching to stand on solid truths, if they were marching towards real justice, they would be like, he just gave us the justice we needed. Why? Because Black America can indict the whole continent of Europeans just based off of Black Wall Street. How is it, sir, that the 100th anniversary of a massacre is coming up and we never knew about that? We wasn't taught about that. Nobody said anything to us about that. Hold on a minute. We marching for a man who got his fucking neck broke, allegedly. You know, he got a hell of a barber. We'll talk about that another day. And how is it that 100 years ago, they basically eradicated and massacred, not a town of some, you know, no-gooders, not a town of some nincompoops, not a town of some vagabonds. No, it just happened to be the fucking jewel, you know, Wakanda, like how T.I. said Atlanta was. No, that was really Wakanda. It was called Greenwood, and the people who killed our people is still alive.
Right.
So,
right. And I was going to say, that's the first